having a chat with you at the end of this quarter. Well, that brings us to our next corporate then, Torrent Power. Well, that one posted a rather good set of numbers. That's third quarter numbers. Steady demand pickup is what we saw. The margins, though, they were under some pressure this time around, though the profit growth remains buoyant with a near 15% rise. Stock is under some pressure today, but in Friday's trading session, it did pretty well. We have Mr. Lalit Malik, the CFO at Torrent Power, who joins us. Hi, Mr. Malik. Thanks so much for joining in. Well, your margins, they've been a little sketchy. Earlier, they used to be in that range of around 28-30% odd. They've come down to around that 24 to around 26% for the last few quarters, the range. What is the outlook from here on in terms of margins? And also, in terms of revenues, you have delivered a 15% growth in the first 9 months. What do you end this year with?
Sure. I think with regard to revenue, what we do expect is that there would be a steady growth, given the scenario that there is going to be GDP growth happening, the infrastructure investment is going to take place, and also the expansion and thrust on the renewable that is being put. I think we do expect to have a steady growth as far as the revenue is concerned. As far as our margins are concerned, I think we have shown at 15% margin. There has been some implications of previous year provision for doubtful debt reversals. But overall, I think we have been able to manage our margins, and we
Mr. Malik,
to also continue.
Mr. Malik, yeah, Mr. Malik, if just a request from our end, I think there's a television that's on in the background, which is pushing out an echo on it. If you could mute that, you could tell someone to mute that, will be better, so we could get further clarity. You were mentioning something about your margins. Please go ahead, sir.
Yeah, so I was saying that, as far as our margins are concerned, we have been able to maintain our margin. There have been some pressure in view of previous year, one-off reversal of provision for doubtful debt, which has some impact. Having said that, I think we have put our control over reducing our T&P expenditure and also operational efficiencies. So we do expect that we'll be able to manage our margins also as we go forward.
Okay. Mr. Malik, good morning. So, if you can tell us a little bit about, the revenue split between generation, transmission and distribution. And in FY23, where do you see the largest amount of traction coming from?
Well, as far as our components are concerned, our generation is one of the largest, though the distribution and also the transmission is growing. But what we do expect is that our generation on the renewable is going to take big traction going forward. Currently, we are around 1.5 gigawatt of renewable, which we expect in next 3 to 4 years to be around 5 gigawatt. So therefore, our traction on the renewable is going to be comparatively high. Having said that, also the focus on the distribution.
We can't hear you very well because, as I said, there is a bit of an echo that's coming from the television screen. So if you can just switch that off, and then we'll try and resume our conversation with you. But that's an important point that Torrent Power is making. A large chunk of their business comes from the generation business, and within that, renewables is a space that you're focusing on in a big way. They have recently added some capacity in their renewables energy business as well. They have 800 megawatts of plants which are currently under construction overall. The stock is under pressure purely because the margins have contracted this time around in a big way. But they say that they have been able to maintain their margin. So let's see. Profits are up about 15%, but margin contraction definitely is something the street does not like.
The stock had a rally as well on Friday, Sonia. The con call was earlier, and the street reacted to it. And today, in line with what we're seeing on the market, in fact, the Nifty is now down close to around 100 points odd. So, from the high point of the day, we have seen some profit taking. Initially, the SGX Nifty was suggesting a bit of a downtake, but the Nifty moved into the green, and from the day's high, we have seen some selling. Yes, Mr.
Actually, we are now below the 50-day moving average. Just want to point out, for example, some stocks. Just look at Radico Khaitan's chart. There are many. So it's basically a lot of stocks where you have seen a big rally correcting. You saw names like MCX, IEX, all these stocks. So the theme in the market is going to be correction of overvaluation. And mid-cap IT is another space where, a lot of stocks will correct. All through last year, Sonia was saying that, IT perhaps is the leader of the market, will remain so. But I think Sameer made the point that I was making as well, that this is not a market in which you worry about whether the company's earnings are growing. 2021 spoiled everyone in terms of overvaluation because of zero interest rate environment. There's going to be a bit of a valuation reset now. In March, when the Fed meets, if it raises rates, for example, by 50 basis points, a lot of people who have not seen rising interest rate cycles, especially in the context of where valuations are, starting valuations are very important. In that sense, a lot of people are in for a bit of a root shock. Let's see. I think the market's showing some trailer of that already.
Okay, I think we have Mr. Lalit Malik back with us, the CFO at Torrent Power. He was telling us about the big growth that he's seeing in the generation business, particularly in renewables. Mr. Malik, renewable energy has picked up at a very fast pace, and for your own business as well, you said the large chunk is coming in from generation, and within that it's the renewable energy generation. So tell us, what is the capacity addition in the renewable space for you? Any addition in thermal capacities at all, and what kind of investments are you making there?
Sure. So as far as our renewable is concerned, including the current pipeline expansion, we have around 1.5 gigawatt of renewable energy currently. And as I just said earlier, our plan is to have around 5 gigawatt of renewable energy in next 3 to 4 years. In addition to the renewable, I was just trying to talk on the distribution. As far as distribution is concerned, that also we have a focus area for our expansion, where we are recently expanding in Dadra and Nagar Haveli. Besides our presence in Ahmedabad, Gandhinagar, Surat, Agra, also in Bhiwandi and SMK, etc. So we have a focus area also on the renewable as well as on the distribution.
Okay, you have big capex plans, Mr. Malik, but it's going to come at a cost. Now I'm looking at your interest cost per quarter. That's come down from around 200 crores to around 150 crores odd. So there's clearly been some debt reduction. Give us a sense about what is the absolute debt number as of now. Where does that number head, and what is the capex plans you have as well, say for FY22, FY23 as well?
Sure. So if you will just talk about, we have around 2,750 crores of debt right now. What we have done is, compared to last year, we have reduced our debt by almost 800 crores. As a result of it, we have a lower interest cost in this quarter compared to previous year on two counts. One is because of the reduction in the debt, and at the same time because of the reduction in the interest rates. Now, our debt EBITDA is very healthy at less than 1. It is around 0.66. So therefore, there is a opportunity for us to expand on the capital expenditure by utilizing the debt as far as our retained earnings. And therefore, if we were to talk about around our capital expenditure for next budget year, it is somewhere to the tune of around 3,700 crores is what we are expecting that we'll be spending, but it will be phased out over a period of time. So that's how we are going to utilize our line of credit as well as our retained earnings to have both the best mix of the debt and equity for our expansion that we are proposing or we are planning going forward in the coming years.
Expansion largely be in the distribution space, or are you looking elsewhere as well?
Well, we are open to look at the opportunities that can come in. As I just said, that we are working on the expansion on Dadra and Nagar Haveli currently, and as and when there is an opportunity coming in, we certainly are open to look at it in terms of our expansion plans.
All right, we'll leave it at that, Mr. Malik. Thanks a lot for joining us. Well, that's the word coming in from Torrent Power. The market is under pressure now. 100